Tirvan Sarnai Arana sir, may I pay homage at your feet. Tirvan Sarnai, everyone. Welcome to the English Zoom sessions. One might ask, what is so special about Buddhotpada sermons? Buddhotpada sermons are special because it very clearly directs us into the supramundane plane of wisdom with practical advice and guidance. The Buddha's teaching on how to realize that there is no self is emphasized in Buddhotpada sermons. With this realization, how to proceed on the path until cessation of all suffering and rebirth. This is very clearly and simply taught by our spiritual guidance teacher. You can get more details and information from the website www.buddhotpada.dhamma.com. You also can join the Methmal Arana and practice the practical path to Nibbana. So may we all understand what Lord Buddha tried to convey to us and realize it in order to come out of all suffering and rebirth. Today, our Buddhotpada Dhamma friend will talk about the radiant mind and how the thoughts are created. Teruvan Saranai.
Aryan Mahansegi Pada Namaskar Veva, Teruvan Saranai. I pay my homage to Triple Gem and Buddhotpada Aryan Mahanse. May you all be blessed by Triple Gem. Welcome to a short discussion on some basic Dhamma facts which is taught in Buddhism. I will try to explain some of the important facts and things that you should know as foundation of true Buddhism. These things were taught 2,600 years ago, and the Dhamma was passed by words, and it was not written in books until very recent time. That means about 500 years ago. So it came down all generations, word by mouth, and certain things in the teaching may have been changed or may be understood in a different manner. So that is why you get so many fractions of Buddhism nowadays in the world. But we will try to go to the basic important facts and basic true facts which help us to realize what the world is. Mainly in Buddhism, we are concentrating on the mind. And it is a mind that can direct you or lead you to the correct pathway, or maybe completely to a wrong pathway. So learning and studying and realizing what the mind and its behavior is very important in Buddhism. And according to the realization of Lord Buddha, the world is created in the mind. Or else in the normal settings, what we understood was the world is there, the real world is there outside. And as a person or a living being, I am here. And after some form of lifespan, depending on the type of the living being, maybe a human being or an animal, after spending some time in this called real world, we die. and we are born again as a different living being. It may be in the form of a human being or a animal. So this was the understanding that we had for a long time. But in real, according to the understanding of Lord Buddha and what is explained in basic Buddhism, what you have to understand is that it's not possible to really understand what the outside world is. So therefore, you have to turn the camera towards you and try to understand what this mind is and what its behavior like. What do I mean by this is that we grab the information about the outside world through our senses. What are these senses? Namely, the eye, ear, tongue, nose, and your skin. So these are actually entry points or some doors, I would say, where you get information about the outside world. Through those senses, you are trying to communicate with the assumed existing outside world. Now, if we go into more details about these senses, what are these senses? Now, really speaking, they are part of your body, made up of flesh, bones, and blood, and all the other cells. So you have two eyes, then the two ears to get the sound in, and then you have the nose to get the smell. Your tongue will feel some tastes, and your skin acts as a sensor. Skin can feel the warmth, cold feelings, hardness, and softness. So these are your 5 senses. Now, if you consider some other animals, some animals do have different senses. For example, the bats will bats can identify some form of radar waves. Similarly, fish, especially dolphins, have the capacity to identify some form of waves, some form of sonar waves like radar. So they don't really need the eyes to direct them, but according to that special waveform, they can swim towards that direction. Similarly, there are some animals who can see in complete darkness, but they are kind of blind with the bright light. So again, their eyes are completely different. Then if you take some of the insects, they have some special sensors, like cockroaches, they have special sensors. So any form of vibration in the environment make them feel it. They don't really need the eyes for that. Then if you take the eyes, they also have different appearances. Now, in the sense, there are some of the insects who have sort of faceted eyes. So they get several pictures at the same time from different directions. If you take an earthworm doesn't have eyes or ears, but it has only the sensitive skin. So it has basically one sensor. Now, if you take this fact into consideration, you can clearly see that different living beings see the world in a different way. So you have to think which one is correct, whose world is correct. Is it the human beings or the animals or the insects or the earthworm, fish? Who will see the real world? So is there something called real world? That is a question then. Now, if you think further on this topic, even the human beings, now we have similar eyes, ears, more or less similar to each other. But within the human beings also, there are some differences in the way that you see or hear. One example is color blindness. Now, if a person is colorblind for red color, some people cannot differentiate red and green. Then there are some other variations of also of this color blindness. So they recognize some form of color as red throughout their life. They don't know which one is real red, the red color that is identified by the other people. So they see some form of color, but they cannot express, or they cannot explain, or they cannot exactly find out what is this so-called real red color is. Similarly, taking about hearing, now we have limited limitations with our ear. Now we can hear a wavelength between I think it is 20 to 20,000 hertz. But all of you know that some of the animals, particularly dogs, can hear much more finer things. So that means their range is different from ours. So their world is created in a different way. So these are actually some of the interesting factors about this sensor. So basically, we create our own world with the help of these 5 sensors. Whatever the advanced equipment you invent, like maybe very advanced telescopes, advanced earphones, whatever the equipment you invent, finally the product that is given, or the conclusion given by the equipment should filter through your sensor. So if your eye can identify whatever is given by the telescope, then it's okay. But we don't know exactly what the telescope is given, but what we are seeing, whether it is tallying with each other. So these are some of the factors that you have to sort of sit and think. Then, as I said, the world created through these sensors cannot be considered as a permanent or true world which is common to everybody. So each person, each living being, create his or her or its own world. And we assume that this is a true world. And that assumption is called avidya. That means some form of foolishness, I would say in simple words. So you assume that this world is a true world, and assuming that it is a true world, you have attachments or frictions with the things that you see or hear or feel. What you hear is called sutta in Pali. What you see is called in ditta, and what you feel through the skin, nose, and tongue are called mutta. So they are called ditta, sutta, mutta. That means what information you are getting through your senses. Now, if you take these sensors, they are functioning right from the beginning, from the time of the birth. But you may realize a small baby will see the pictures. That means the eyes are functioning, provided that the eyes are normal. Baby will see the pictures, but baby doesn't know what the picture is. Baby will hear the sounds. Baby will, you may have noticed a small baby will jerk when there's a loud sound. So that means the baby can hear the sounds. baby will get the taste. Now, especially you can see that when the baby is getting milk, the baby looks sort of happy. And if you happen to keep something a little sour or something on the tongue, you can see some facial expression. So that means the baby can feel the taste. Similarly, the baby will feel some smell, but there is no way actually to find out when they are very small. And their skin is also functioning as a sensor. You can see that the baby will pull the hands away if it is too cold or something like that. So those 5 sensors are working from the time of the birth. And gradually they mature and they become more sensitive. But at what stage do they know what I see is a flower, or what I see is a wall, what I see is my mom? And what stage do they identify the sounds they hear as the crow's sound, or maybe the barking of a dog, or the tooting of a vehicle? So what stage do they recognize? So until that time, until they recognize, they will not have a significant attachment or friction with those information that they get through their senses. So in other words, the defilements or keles will not occur, will not be born in their mind until these information given through the senses are identified and a proper naming is done. So what stage does it happen? Now, as you know, gradually, when the baby is born, as I said, the senses are working from the beginning, and little by little, you may have noticed that the babies are attracted to colors. When you hang a toy, a merry-go-round above the cot, you can see that the baby is watching it, sometimes with a smile, and then some sounds also, especially to the mom's voice, the baby might turn the eyes and have a look. And for the tastes also, the baby will respond. And if you offer something, the baby will be able to reach and hold it in few months' time. So like this, you can see that the senses are gradually maturing and being able to gather more and more information from outside world. So after some time, maybe when the baby is reaching like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So gradually with the growing and when these sensor organs are maturing, there's another special system which is functioning. These are called Kriyavali. What is happening really? What happens is that the sensors tend to tie up together the information that they receive. And what happens with the teaching? Teaching in the sense, I'm not meaning the school teaching, but at home, the parents will start teaching the child. And then subsequently, after a few years, the child will start going to the preschool. And in the preschool also, he gets some form of teaching. What is meant by teaching here is that you help the child to tie up the information given through the senses. So this is where the thoughts are made. Now, what is meant by senses? The Sinhalese Pali term, also in Sinhalese we use the same word, salayatana. Ayatana means institutions. So with salayatana, Salayatana means the 6 institutions. Ayatana, they are actually the places where some form of manufacturing, some form of products are manufactured. So in other words, in Buddhism, what is the function of the ayatana or salayatana is the ability to see or ability to hear or some form of product of seeing. That I would say is more matching to the explanation. Some form of production is done by this ayatana. So that means, for example, if you see a wall or if you see a bird, that is your product. If you hear the sound of a vehicle, that is a product. If you get the smell of pineapple, that is a product. If you feel the taste of pineapple, that's a product. If you feel the sensation of grass when you are walking, that's a product. So the purpose of this ayatana is giving you a product. So how do you produce these things? You produce these things by affiliating or joining several informations which come through your senses. Now we'll take an example. If you are eating a papadam or an apple, we'll take it in more simpler ways. If you eat an apple, if you see an apple, your eye will give you the information, the appearance, a shape. This is what you are seeing. You will see it in color and a shape. So that is your information through the eye sensor. Really speaking, the eye will not be able to identify what it's seeing. It acts as a camera. Now, the understanding we had earlier was that eye will see the things, ear will hear the sounds. And we had the impression that the eye could identify. Eye means EYEI, right? Eye can identify what it's seeing. But it's not the real case. Eye can only identify a shape. But who is doing the function of giving the name to what you are seeing? It's your mind sensor. So behind these 5 sensors, the biggest performance or biggest function is done by the mind sensor, which is the 6th sensor. So we'll take the sensors one by one. If you take the eye, as I said, it functions as a camera. So it can see some shapes. Then if you take ears, again, it has the ability to grab the sounds within the frequency limit that a human ear can grab. So it will hear some sounds, but the ear doesn't know what the sound is. So it's a kind of entry point. Nose, if you take, nose will feel the fragrances, the nice smells, and putrid or bad smells. It's equal to the nose. It doesn't know what is that, but it smells something. Similarly, your tongue can feel 5 or 6 tastes, which are limited in our capacity to our tongue. So sour, sweet, salt, etc., bitter. So the tongue cannot identify what taste it is, but it can feel that there is some taste. Skin, as I mentioned earlier, skin all over the body can feel the warmth, cold feeling, and hardness and softness. That's all. But it doesn't know that the hardness is due to a piece of wood pressing on your skin. Softness is due to the soft blanket that is touching your skin, or the cold feeling is due to the morning breeze. So the skin cannot identify. So these are the information that you get through your senses. So depending on these senses, your mind tend to give you a conclusion or a kind of diagnosis, I would say, to say what it is. Now, certain times, most of the time, I would say it's mainly the eye and the ear which plays important roles. But there are instances, especially when you are eating some form of food, you will get the activation of all five senses. Say, if you are eating an apple, as I mentioned earlier, the eye will give you the shape of the apple, and your ear will give you the sound when you are munching on that, the crunchy sound. Then your tongue will recognize a taste, and also some form of smell also will be recognized to your nose. And when you are feeling, when you touch the apple or when you have the pieces in your mouth, you get some form of hardness felt through your skin. So you get all five senses at the same time. And mind will give you the conclusion, this is the apple. So how does the mind give you the conclusion? Now, mind doesn't know the small baby, 8 months, 9 months old baby doesn't know that it is an apple. So that means you need to get that information from outside. So your parents or your maybe your elder siblings, any other adult or teacher at your school or preschool will help you in this matter. Now, you might remember as a kid, you were very inquisitive about the things. What you see, what you hear. Always you used to ask your parents, or if you are at preschool, you used to ask your teacher, what is this? What is that? And what is that sound? So you are very inquisitive. You try to get the data or information. Now, like you feeding the data to the computer, you get all these data collected from the small age. Still, even at your older age, there are many things that you don't know. So there are new things when you see, you will be inquisitive and find out what is this. So you are adding some data through these sensors. So going back to the preschool age, or maybe when you are small at home, the parents or the adults will give you information to help you to find out what these things are, what the information you are getting through. Now, if you ask, what is that? Mom, what's that? That's moon. Mom, what's that sound? That's the sound of a car. Mom, what's this? This is a rose flower. Or, Mom, what's that smell? That's the smell of a jasmine flower. And what's that taste, Mom? It's a salt taste. Mom, what's this coldness? What do I feel? It's some wind coming. Mom, what's this softness? It's some cotton. So like that, you get this information coming through the sensors, tied up together and coming to some form of conclusion. So this is the function of your mind sensor. So the mind will go on collecting this data. It doesn't really mean that you have a place to store this information. That's a wrong concept. We had the concept that the brain can store the information. It's not like that. Then and there, at each instant, when these information are given, the mind sensor is born as a new thing. When it happens repeatedly, the same result will come as outcome. So finally, what happens is you get lots of information as you grow at home and at preschool and school. This is actually what is called the process of learning. What is learning? What do you mean by learning? You accumulate some form of knowledge. Knowledge is not wisdom, actually. You assume that there is a world existing permanently outside. That is the final outcome that you get through this learning process. So what happens is, with time, you have this information, your mind sensor has some conclusion on this information given through the other sensors. After some time, what happens is that if somebody tells you the word apple, the mind sensor is very skilled and very efficiently bring the other components of the sensors related to that topic. For example, if I tell you the word apple, the mind will quickly bring the other bits of information to complete the jigsaw puzzle. You will get a picture of the apple in your mind. You will remember the smell of it, you will remember the taste of it, and you will remember the hardness when you are holding or when you are chewing on that. So all that information within a fraction of a second will complete the picture, and then you get the feeling that there is something called apple in real. So if you take these facts now, if you consider all these facts which I have told you earlier, you gather information about the things which are existing, which you think is existing in real in the outside world. So you collect the information and then you create the world in your mind. So you have your house, you have food, various types of food, you have birds, you have trees and various plants around you, you have water, you have your family members. So all are created in your mind through your senses. So is this the same world that all the living beings are seeing? No. Now, some animals, as I mentioned earlier, have very differently functioning senses. Now, some animals can't see all these colors. Now, apparently, some animals can see only one or two colors. They see the whole world only in one or two colors. So now it's very clear that each of us have our own world created in our mind. And we assume that this is the true world which is outside, and we react to that assumed so-called real existing world outside. So that is a myth. That is what I mentioned as avijja as earlier, or it's kind of fake belief. So it's very clear that it's all in our mind. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if you hear a sound, you know, it's a sound of a crow. And within a very quick period, because the mind is so quick, mind's functions is very quick, you tie up so many other informations to that sound. You remember the appearance of the bird, appearance of the crow. That means your eye sensors information. Then also you will, if you have touched a crow, if you have touched a feather, you will feel how it is felt. Not only that, you tie up so many other information around that topic. What are the information? You will remember that the crows are greedy, sometimes very destructive type of birds. They are nuisance, and where they are making their nests, and all sorts of information. So see again, now within a very short period, like a fraction of second, maybe 1,000th, 1 in 1,000th fraction of a second, you collect so many information and tied up to this sound that you heard. Now these are all the data that you have gathered over time. All the information. Now, as a small baby, you don't know the qualities of the crow. But with time, with the growth, you collect more and more data about this bird called crow. And now, as an adult, when you hear the sound of the crow, not only the picture, not only the how it's felt if you touch, but all the other information related to the crow will come instantly and give you a complete picture about the crow. Now, this is what's happening to the information through the sensors with the growth of the person. So similarly, think about a person. Now, if you see your mother right now, or maybe in your phone, you see her on the phone screen, her picture. So that means right now your eye sensor is functioning. Additionally, maybe when she's talking, you will hear the voice. So your ear sensor is functioning. So two of the sensors are functioning, and next second or next fraction of second, your mind will give the conclusion, this is my mom. And see how many information will gather or will collect or will get tied up to that bit of information. Your mom, how she brought up you, how much loving and with what sort of caring, how she fed you, how she looked after you as a baby, and the way she helped with your studies, the way she helped with your simple things, maybe feeding, how to with the dressing up to take into the school, and as an adult when you are working, how she helped with your lunch packet or maybe ironing done for you. All sorts of information come and get tied up with that sensor information. So you have a huge image, a loving image about your mom. And that means your mind sensor will give you the sort of impression that real living mom is there in the other end. Similarly, if you see a person that you don't like, maybe from the distance you see the person approaching, only your eye sensor is functioning. You didn't talk to the person, but you can see from the distance and see the quick function or the quick job that your mind is doing. The mind will bring all the information, all the data that you have gathered about that person, tied up to that information coming through the eye. This person is really bad. I don't like him. He did these bad things to me. And he had a fight with me. He had an argument with me on this matter. He's very selfish and he's a boaster and he's not helpful at all. I have helped him, but he did all these things in return to me. So I don't like even to see him. Now, these may be some of the information that is given through your mind sensor. So now only your eye saw the picture. Your eye gave you a colored picture of the person approaching. But see how much of thoughts you have collected and how much of labels you have given to this information that you got through your eye. Now, this is how you create your world in your mind. So these are the things that you have to sort of sit and study. Now, all sensors are functioning like this. Now, we will take another sensor. For example, if you are eating, pineapple, small baby doesn't know that it is pineapple. So if you keep something on the tongue, the baby will show some facial expressions if it is sour. Or maybe if you keep a piece of chocolate on the tongue, the baby will show some pleasant sort of expressions on the face. But the baby doesn't know whether it is chocolate or pineapple or what it is. But later on, when the baby is growing up, you tend to give the name. Do you like a piece of chocolate? Do you like a piece of choco? Or shall we have some pineapple? So the baby will tie up the information together. Baby will tie up the taste and the word given. So the two senses are working, the tongue and the sound, the ear sensor. And the mind sensor will come to the conclusion, this is chocolate, this is pineapple. So with the aging, with the age of the child, when the child is growing up, the child will know by looking at it or getting the smell or the taste. Child will recognize what that fruit is. This is applicable to all five senses. Now you can take some of the examples and see how that information came to your mind. Now, as an adult or a grown-up child, if you see something, if you see we'll take the same example. If you see a pineapple, you get the sensor, your eye sensor functioning. Then your mind will complete, the mind sensor will complete the picture with all the other information that you are having already. So this is how you create the world in your mind. So these are some of the basic factors to analyze yourself. Now, take your time and see how the world is created around you. Now, you cannot sort of do this on every information that you get through the sensor because it's a very quick process. But when you have a free time, you can sort of leisurely study these facts which I mentioned to you and see how the world is created in your mind. And you create the mind and then you assume that it is a real world which is outside. And then you have all the thoughts connected to that. You have all the feelings connected to that so-called existing world. You develop all your defilements. You have frictions, the likings, the pleasures, all are created within your mind. So if you just take a quick look at the mind, Is it something solid which has existed in the past, which is present now, and which is going to be present in the future? No. Mind is again a flow. Take the example, a river. You call it a river because the water is flowing. When the water is static, you don't call it river. If you take a handful of water from a river and do the same thing within another second, it's not the same bit of water that is coming to your hand because it's flowing. So when it is flowing, you call it river. So the mind is similar to that, but it's much, much, much faster. I would say it is the fastest thing which is identified in the universe. It's faster than the light, I would say. So it's a flow. It's a flow. The mind which is born just at this second is no more there. The next second, it's a new mind. But taking it collectively, you see it as one solid mind. But it's not so. It's a collection of millions and billions of thoughts together. So you call it mind. So how does the mind is formed? So mind is not something which is stored somewhere in the brain, I would say. But brain is needed. Brain is needed for this function. Like the senses, like the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and the skin, which are parts of the body. The brain is needed to create the mind. But mind is not a part of the brain. A nice example is given by our Arana Mahanse, a vehicle battery. The vehicle battery has several components. It has cells, it has acid, it has water, then it has many metal parts, and it creates the power, generates a power. But power is actually not part of the battery. But battery is needed to generate the power. So similarly, brain is needed to generate power, but power in the sense the mind. Brain is needed to generate mind, but mind is not part of brain. But mind needs the brain to have its origination. So this is one of the simpler explanations. So how does the mind formed? Mind is formed with the help of the senses which come through the 5 entry points. That means the vision, hearing, smelling, the sensor, taste, and the sensation through the skin. So collectively, when these are tied up together, in Pali we use the word paticca, or you tying up. When these information are tied up together, then your mind or the thoughts are generated. But this process of generation of thoughts occur when the child is growing. So in other words, the small baby doesn't have thoughts. As I mentioned earlier, the ayatana or the senses are functioning. The babies can see, hear, and feel the things, but the baby cannot think. Baby cannot tie up these information together and form thoughts. So what age do they form thoughts? That is the age when the senses are maturing, when the organs are mature, you have the ability to tie up these together. So that is the point which I mentioned, where the adults or your teachers at the preschool, the Montessori, or the school help you to tie up this information together. That is where the thoughts are made. When thoughts are made, you get the feeling that these are real and existing. That is called itha bhava, or you get the feeling that they are really there. When you get the feeling that these things are other side of the coin, you get the feeling that I am there, I myself, the myth of or the thought of my presence is generated at that point. So in simple words, your concept of me is another thought only. How do you get the concept of me or I? This is in the same way. Like, for example, as a baby, you don't know that I am there or it is mine, this is me. The baby doesn't have that concept. When the baby is growing, your people, your adults, the other siblings will again help you to tie up the information coming through the senses. If you go near a mirror, they will show you this is baby, or this is you name the baby, this is Marlene, this is baby Marlene. So then you tend to tie up the sound with that picture that you see on the mirror. And similarly, you will, when you look at your hands, you look at your parts of your body, or when you hear the sounds coming from your own body, like when you are coughing or sneezing. So all this information will tie up with that concept that I am there. And you tie up the name given by your parents to that image. So that is how you get the feeling that I am there, or this is me, this is mine. So like you tie up the other thoughts with the other information which is given through the senses, you tend to tie up various thoughts to this me concept. This is what I like, this is mine, this is what I want, I don't like this, I used to like it, and I'm going to do it. Now see how many thoughts you are tying up with that image of me. So this is what's called Sakkaya Ditthhiya. Sakkaya Ditthhiya is the biggest obstacle in your Dhamma pathway. This is the most difficult thing to understand, and this is the most difficult thing to get rid. So the understanding that this is a myth, the concept of me is a real myth or a fake or an illusion, is the basis of understanding of Buddhism. These few facts that I explained so far, I hope I was clear enough. But if there are any small mistakes in the language, or if there are any things which were not very clear, I apologize, because I'm not an experienced Buddhist preacher. So I hope this sheds some light to the Buddhist facts and teachings. Therwan Saranai. Thank you for listening.
Therwan Saranai. The speech for today is over. Thank you very much, our Buddhotpada Dhamma friend, for the valuable speech.
about how the mind is created. You can also visit www.buddhotpadodharma.com and listen to more English sermons. Thank you everyone for listening. Thiruvan Saranai Aryan Mahansa. Thiruvan Saranai everyone.